gravel transition to sand, just a log, something to be by. They don't need cover over them. They just need something to relate to.
Yep.
And largemouth are lazy too. I noticed a lot of times they just spawn even on like that softer bottom stuff. Like if it's got hard bottom underneath it, like a lot of the places we go, it's just the stuff that takes, I swear it's like 2 or 3 fan of the tail, and then it's a nice clear bed versus some of that stuff that the smallies are around is just hard all around. They got to move gravel, like literally dig a hole, and largemouth just kind of come in and just give it a little dusting, and it looks clean enough for me. Then they're good. So It's just a little different.
Yeah. That's a little bit insulting to the largemouth, calling them lazy. Like
Truth hurts.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys have never done this, I'm telling you, it is the most fun. It's so neat. They do, like you guys mentioned, that they spawn in colonies. They're close together, and it's just such a neat and fun way to fish. Unlike what GDP loves to do, he loves to suffer on the largemouth when they're spawning for hours upon end to try to get them to go. Do you guys type fish for largemouth, Chad and Garrett? Are you guys good at that skill set as well, or do you avoid it like me?
No, I mean, I feel okay doing it down south. It's actually funny because Michigan, the fishing is really good, but I swear our largemouth, and I don't know about you, Chad, are some of the toughest to catch. I mean, I was always so worried about going down south because you hear guys on TV fishing the Bassmaster saying, "Oh man, this one's really tough. I have to take my time with it." Where we half the largemouth here, you have no prayer of catching them. I mean, they don't even sit in the bed. They just take off, and for whatever reason that is, I'm not sure, because the minute they are done spawning, they're not hard to catch. But I feel like going down south, like we went to Hartwell, and I mean, it was fairly, I don't want to say it was easy. I mean, largemouth take time, but the fishing in Michigan is just super tough for some reason. I don't know if it's like that in New York, but our fish, or maybe it's just where I live, are extremely difficult to catch off beds.
Yeah, I think part of that too is like the places we go up here, they're so populated. You've got a small lake. There's only so many places to spawn, like a spawning bay or a pocket, or like a man-made marina or ditch. So everybody that's going out fishing in the spring is going back and they're hanging out in the sun and just throwing everything they can at these fish. When you get down south, like those places are so vast. I mean, like Hartwell, like Garrett was talking about last year, I sight fished there and had a lot of fun, and I think I finished 9th down there, and I don't even know if I saw other boats fishing. They're so big. Like Garrett was talking about covering water, that you can put the trolling motor down until you find what you're looking for. And that's the key. The guys that are really good at that, like they're not setting up on their 5 fish like you would on a smallmouth tournament. They know where to put it down, and the key is they know which fish to spend time on. So maybe you're throwing something while you're looking, whether it's a wacky worm or a topwater or whatever it is, but they know when to slow down, and you can read those fish. And if you set up on a big one, you're like, yeah, I can probably catch this one in 20 or 30 minutes if I work at it. Or there's one that's super skittish. You're like, I'm not going to waste an hour or two because I might never get this one to bite. So that's the big thing, is recognizing which fish are catchable.
Sure enough. And Riz, let's give away some prizes. What kind of who do you have up in the queue next?
We have Dave Hall wants to know if there's ever a situation where the smallies don't react to brighter baits on beds. And for that question, Dave Hall, you are going to get yourself some bright Missile 48 baits.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, bright baits are the most unnatural things. It's really angler friendly, but there's certainly times where I'm throwing that little smallie smasher in there, not getting a bite, and I go to a green one or a smoke or something, and you get bit on the first cast. So I usually start with it, but if they're not reacting, changing colors and changing bait styles is pretty important with bed fishing. So you want to go natural pretty quick if you're not getting a response.
Yeah, and I still think it has to do with like the time they've been on the bed. If it's a fish that's fresh, I mean, you can throw a topwater over a smallie in 15 feet and they will come up and get it if it's right for them. That same fish, a week later, you can't get them to bite unless you're putting the right bait on their nose. And like Garrett said, a lot of times it's whatever's natural, super little small minnow, a little fly, a little whatever it is. Like this, really, the smaller the better.
That's amazing that you said that, because I've seen that a few times, Chad, where they get so aggressive, and you guys have never done this. It's going to be foreign to you, but you'll be in 15 feet of water, throw out, and the bedding fish will come up and meet that halfway down, and you're like, that didn't just happen. That was too easy. you know?
Yeah, I wish everyone could experience it at least once. I mean, I know there's so many times where I'm with a buddy that's never done it, and I'm like, throw at that black spot over there at that rock, and then he throws 20 feet past it, and the black spot takes off and bites. So yeah, when they want to bite, it's like so addicting. It's a ton of fun.
It's pretty neat too. At Champlain once, there's two things. I had one that I told my co-angler, oh, this, just don't throw over here. This fish is going to bite. And he's like, how do you know? I'm like, well, it ate a golf ball, because I used to mark them with golf balls. I had one take a golf ball off a bed. Like it dropped in a white golf ball, and it literally nosed it and moved it off the bed. That same tournament, there was another one. Do you ever wonder, like, will they eat or will they not eat? Or sometimes they're eating, sometimes they're just moving things. I was watching like a 5-pounder on the flogger, and I'm watching a crayfish literally on the edge of the bed. And this crayfish goes down, gets in the bed. I watch the smallmouth not eat him, but literally pick him up by his shell, just like we would, like this, and move him over like a foot or two and drop him off. That same crayfish walked back into the bed, and he did it again, and he dropped him off further, and the crayfish went the other way. It was the craziest thing I had ever seen, but it was like real life. He saved the crayfish's life.
It was lucky day.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys, with the smallmouth, because you guys are doing it a lot. What about electronics wise, as far as side imaging? Can you guys see them big schools down there? Oh, Chad, what do you got?
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's something we don't talk about. No, that's with the advancement with mega imaging now, you can definitely and guys are starting to do it, scan around, especially for those deeper fish. You can kind of get bites cheating like that, and a lot of times you'll see the fish in there. I mean, I'd go through an area and mark the little divots. I mean, you'll see them plain as day, and then go back over with the flogger and check them, see if the fish is in there, what's going on. And I noticed it now with my 360 imaging, just going down, and I saw a ton of beds last weekend where, you're coming up to an area and you're like, that looks like a bed, and you look up and Smalley swims away. So it's getting pretty advanced, and that's a way that you can really cut down the time you have to spend looking for them. Just get around there and idle and see the beds.
Yeah, and it's still got to be right. Like if it's all gravel, mixed boulders, it's really hard to distinguish the shadow from a divot or a bed or the boulder or a fish. So it's really hard on those rocky flats to pinpoint beds. But a lot of those big northern smallmouth, some of them spawn like even deep sand edges where there's a little bit of gravel. And some of my favorite places up north, Burt and Mullet Lakes and Charlevoix and Traverse, those places, there's actually like giant logs that are down there. And before, again, I used to float around and try to find logs. And now you literally can just drive with your side scan and you can see the logs. And if you zoom in on the edges of those logs, you'll see the hole. And if you zoom in enough, a lot of times you'll see you can see the fish in them too. I mean, you can pick out which logs not only have beds, but which logs have fish on the beds. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, sounds it.
Riz, we're going to have to take my new Solix units out very soon.
Yeah.
See if we can find some beds.
Content. All right. So on the topic of the utilizing your electronics to find beds, I feel like this question might be relevant to that. And this is Joel on the Bass Shoot TV message board wants to know how you find northern bedding smallmouth if you're dealing with either murky water or like dark and cloudy kind of conditions where you can't visibly see them as well. Are you guys going all electronics, or are you kind of just fan casting for them? What are you going with there?
Fire away.
Yeah. Obviously that makes it tougher when you got those kind of conditions. If you can get by with your electronics, that'd be a great way to do it. Otherwise, there's certain baits they'll come up on. You throw a fluke, a spinner bait, something like that. You'll get that fish a lot of times to come up, and you'll see them then because they're going to be on the surface. And then you can go over there, and usually if you get right on top of those beds, you should be able to see to the bottom. Typically, I mean, you need to be fishing where you can see the bottom at least somewhat. So I'd start with one of those real big gaudy baits near the surface and cover water that way. And hopefully you get them to come up and at least look at it. And then you can go over there and pinpoint where that fish came from.
Yeah. And on top, it's really just harder. And like all the BFLs we've had up north, like every time we go up there, I'm hoping it's not like glass and calm and sunny, because you can learn what you can learn on a cloudy day. On a sunny day, it's like having 20 or 30 days out there. It really is. I mean, because you can see so much further. It's like somebody shutting the lights off when those clouds come in. But if you know where the structure is, like if you can take your time and still graph around with your electronics, and find those logs and, see those beds. A lot of time what I would do, even when I couldn't, not that you couldn't catch them, but I didn't want to like stick them when it's muddy, because if I can't see them, they're a lot harder to catch, but I do want to know how big they are. So I would go fish with my drop shot and have one of those little hitchhikers, and maybe I can barely see the bed, or having been there before, I know where they spawn. So I know which boulders will have one, and I know which log. So I want to know how big they are. So even if I can just barely see the bottom, maybe can't make out the fish, you can drop that drop shot down there, and you can pull. A lot of times you can pull that fish up off the bottom another 5 to 7 feet. So before you can just barely make out the boulder or the log that you're dropping next to, and you have that bait without a hook in it, and you just slow reel them, and they're going to come up and eventually spit it. But a lot of times it'll allow you to know how big that fish is, and then it's still going to be easy to catch in the tournament, because you don't want to go sticking that fish knowing it's a 5-pounder and 2 or 3 days before the tournament, and then you're trying to catch it and maybe it's tough to catch when you can't see it.
Yeah, things get really, really tricky when the lights go out. And that definitely adds
small and large.
Yeah, no kidding. And,
Yep.
Low light conditions in the morning can be tough too. So a lot of times we wait till later in the day to even go start looking. But we have something that we do at Bass University called the Bass U Battle. And have you guys been part of the Bass U Battle yet?
Or not.
Yeah, no.
All right, we got some rookies.
It's all right. It's all right. I lost every time, guys. One of you guys
win down at the Classic?
I did, but it was set up.
Hey, win is a win, brother.
Yeah.
What we do, it's we have fun with it. Present you guys with a set of conditions, and each of you tells me how you're going to solve that condition. What's your technique? What are you going to do to catch fish in that situation? And I, as the dean of the Bass University, decide who wins based on your answer. So submit your bribe money now.
I'm already out because they both have bass cats.
Ding.
You're the odd man out on this group. Well, that's all right. That's not a bad thing. That'll help you stand out. I'm going to give, but because of that, GDP, I'm going to let you pick the order of who goes first.
Oh,
All right, I'm last.
You going last? Who's going first?
Older Chad.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
Chad's going first.
All right, let's
Eric,
do
you're
it.
in the middle. And here we go. We're talking about spawning, smallmouth. It's middle of the spawn. Not now, it's middle of the spawn towards the end of it, right? And it's sunny, about 10-mile-an-hour windy conditions out on this day. So we got a little wind to deal with, but we got sunshine. It's the last day of your tournament. You're all out. You burned them all up. You have no more on your GPS on where these fish are located. The three of you guys are tied for the lead, all catching spawning smallmouth. It's a dead tie. You got largemouth in this lake too, but not one of you has weighed in one. So what are you guys going to do? You're going to go find some brand new smallies and try to win this tournament? You're going to pack your bags and go fish for green ones and win this tournament? How are you going to win this tournament, Chad?
If it's the last day of the tournament and you're anywhere fishing for northern smallmouth, the largemouth you catch are going to be useless anyway, because I could catch 3 smallmouth that would weigh more than the largemouth. So I'm going out and we're going looking. And if you get a sunny day like that, you don't need to have beds marked. You just need to have an idea of where they're at, because they are constantly pulling up. Some of those same tournaments I've done well in, I'm fishing near the rocks, and then you look over and 20 yards over is another big one on a boulder. So they're constantly coming up. And I would also be trying to focus a little deeper. Those shallow fish get burned quicker, and those deeper fish, they're definitely going to be there longer. And I do feel like that deeper wave spawns later because that water's a little cooler. So I'd be looking a little deeper than the rest of the crowd.
Awesome. Good solution. Going a little deeper. Once again, you're being abusive towards the largemouth. I don't know why, Chad. but
he had a pretty good reason there.
Yeah, I know. But
I think the Dean's red pen might have come out on the
That's okay.
coming up, man.
I might be a little offended. I'm not sure yet. But, but Chad's going and looking, man. He's staying with brownfish. He's going to try to win that way. What say you, Garrett?
Well, first I want to say I'm getting to the ramp with no sleep because I'm going to be on Google Maps the whole night before looking for every spot that looks like what I was fishing. And from there, I'm going to look. If it's the middle of the spawn and things are getting beat up, I'm going to try to find cooler water. I want to find fish that, maybe haven't been up there for 3 or 4 days. I want fish that are coming to me. So you're going to the deeper part of the lake, the area with maybe less flats prevalent, but you still want to try to find the same cover. And I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna run into a new area. I'm gonna look for fresh fish. A lot of times, if you find the same cover that you were fishing or the same bottom composition, you're gonna find another wave of fish, and they should be big and they should be easy to catch. Whereas where you were is beat on and you just got the little fish left. So that's what I'm doing. I'm looking. I mean, if you're in that position to win, you're gonna stick with smallmouth. You're gonna fish for the win and just get into a little bit of a different area, maybe down the lake, and see if you can duplicate it.
Excellent. Now, sticking with brownfish.
Yes.
I like the addition of targeting the cooler water, maybe finding fish that are just pulling up, and not abusive towards largemouth at all. It's bonus for that. but he's sticking with it, man. We got 2 sight fishing gurus, 2 smallmouth gurus. They're not coming off the smallmouth train. What are you doing, GDP?
Well, I'm gonna do 2 things. Number one, I'm gonna fish a little bit in the morning, just trying to do what I was doing. But if it gets to be like 9 o'clock, I'm gonna run around. I'm gonna find Chad and Garrett and see what they got. That's going to distinguish if I need to go for largemouth or not.
Nice.
But in reality, what I'm going to do is kind of what Garrett said. I'm going to do a lot of map study, Lake Master, getting in them areas. But the one key thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up a jerkbait, and I'm going to just thrash that thing hard, and I'm going to cover a lot of water. A, till I catch them, or B, till I see some more. So that's kind of like what I'm going to do.
Interesting.
Yep.
Nice.
Staying with smallmouth.
Whatever bites at that moment, But yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
Yep. But like I said, if they ain't got them, I'm going for largemouth. I'm getting 10 pounds.
Ding! Wow, this is interesting. BTC. We got 2 guys that are definitely going for smallmouth. GDP is leaving an option for largemouth as a possible deal, and he's doing something different with a jerkbait, which kind of separates him from the other 2. So he's either going to probably get crushed by the other 2 guys, or he's going to pass them by doing something a little bit different. And because GDP was in the dumps for not winning recently, we're going to give him this win.
Home cooking.
About time.
Nice.
Jerkbait takes the boys down.
All right. Damn.
I like it.
Yeah.
They were great solutions, obviously, and that's a tough one, because you're right, Chad, when you said that. I've seen it on Champlain even where largemouth can win, even when the smallies are spawning. But boy, when they're spawning, it doesn't matter. The smallmouth are going to win.
They're heavy.
Definitely.
On the big waters, of course, the largemouth aren't much of a factor on the Great Lakes and those kind of places. Maybe Thousand Islands. I'm not sure. But guys, great answers. I appreciate it. I know everybody's learned a lot. I see BTC. What do you got?
Oh, I got some facts or some questions sent in from a fan, Matt Pendick, and he has a few things here for our guest and host. Greg, is it true that pasta screams when you boil it?
Is it true?
That's right.
My pot screams.
Your pasta.
Yeah.
All right. And Garrett, do you in fact have Halsey on continuous play in your truck because she gives you she makes you happy in your pants?
I did, yeah. I've started to move on, but there was an 8-month period of my life. Yes.
He wanted to miss a day of practice in New York when she was in concert. He's like, "You want to go see Halsey? She's up here, just about an hour away." Let's go.
Dude, I don't even know who that is.
Yes, you do.
One more question from the message board. And Dave Hall wants to know, Chad, how do you deal with high wind conditions with your hair? How do you keep your hair looking so good?
Dude, it's about out of control right now. I mean, it is. You ever seen Ace Ventura when nature calls like this? I mean, it just goes. Right now, it's we need a haircut.
Wow.
You look like Carrot Top, dude.
I need a picture. Hold on. Put that back up, Chad.
There you go.
I can tell you this, Chad. We did some interviews with you and Seth Fider at Bass Universities this year, and Seth was calling you out, saying hands down, man, he's got the better hair.
He's got some flow, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pulling mine out piece by piece as we don't get to fish. Anytime those fish don't cooperate, I pluck another one out. It's starting to fade back.
That's awesome. The man with the hair.
I got one more. Chad, is a true flogger is German for snorkel? Sounds about right.
That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I've never heard that in my life, but we did get it from overseas, maybe. So maybe
And you
so.
have sponsor logo Speedos.
Hey, whatever makes the cash.
All right. Well, there you go. That's from Matt Pendick or Renwick.
Shout out to Stray Cast, I think, for some reason.
Could be.
Well, we did see some Stray Casts on the Facebook page, and I appreciate all the questions coming in from the IM board.
And a shout out to Andy again for helping out this morning or before we went live here this evening, and Mark Jeffries. We still got some technical issues to get dialed in, but next show will be groovy. So
it is groovy having your voice, BTC. I know you guys didn't hear it on the broadcast side, but in the booth, it's nice to be able to hear your voice again, my friend.
All right, you're the first one to ever say that to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. And, I want to wish you guys good luck. We got the elites coming up. You're right around the corner. Where are we going? Lake Eufaula, first round?
Yep.
And it's well past the spawn down there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's summertime.
It's summertime.
We went straight to off the bank and northern fishing. Let's go, as Catfish would say.
Mega 360. Here we come.
Exactly.
That's right.
All right.
It should be a good tournament. I think a lot of people don't realize how good Lake Eufaula is around the country, and I think we're going to expose that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. It is an amazing fishery, and it seems to have come on a little bit. It had a downturn or something where we didn't hear about it for a while, but as of late, man, it's exploded. Is there grass in that lake? Do you guys know?
I went down there, and I know it was full of hydrilla 5 years ago, and I went down there. I didn't see much. I mean, there's a lot of grass on the bank, like shore grass, but nothing really off the bank. But I think that's probably why it's so good. There was a ton of hydrilla and there was a ton of bass, and now the grass is gone, and they have to go on to certain pieces of cover, which makes it really easy for us.
Right.
Yeah, I used to do that Sunline Writers Conference down there, and the whole lake, literally anything less than 9 feet, was a mat. And so it was so hard to target fish like that. And those lakes get so healthy so quick when there's all that forage and fish, and then they pull all that cover away, and they're just so much more vulnerable because everybody's got graphs, electronics. You can cover water and find them. So it's going to be on.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I fished it for the first time, when I was able to escort, right after I escorted Washington across to Delaware. I fished Eufaula. There was no grass back then. And I had heard that there was grass and things were starting to change down there, but it's going to be cool to watch you guys. And I just heard, I didn't know, a lot of you guys watching probably don't know, but the Bassmaster Live is going to be broadcast simultaneously on ESPN2 throughout that tournament. So, yeah, I see you guys didn't.
I didn't even know that either.
Yeah, I probably am going to get sued over divulging that information.
You know how long they're going to air it? Like, what do they got? Like an hour or two? Or?
I don't know the specifications, or I don't want to speak out of turn, but
That's
I didn't see it in writing. But from my understanding, it's going to be mirroring exactly what's going on the website. Wow. So you're going to be doing the morning block and the afternoon block.
That's big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what we've been waiting for. That's perfect.
Yeah.
ESPN2, here we come. I think ESPN's loving it because they don't have sports to broadcast.
Right.
And, you're going to be one of the first sports out there that people can, watch. So may see some new viewers. Pretty exciting for the sport of fishing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Better catch them.
Gosh, more pressure. Great. Got to feed my baby, my wife, and we got ESPN2 here.
I'm depending on one of you to win the tournament so that we can promote this broadcast after it's all over with. But I wish you guys a lot of luck, man. Thanks for taking the time, come and hang out with us. Guys watching, I hope you get a chance to fish for spawning smallmouth someday. But we're gonna be watching you guys in the elites. We're gonna be pulling for you, and look forward to both you guys are available. If over on BassU.TV you want to go check out content from Garrett or from Chad, you can just search them on our site and check out some of their teaching seminars or some interviews I had with Garrett, and learn some more about bass fishing. But thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you being with us tonight, and we'll be pulling for you.
Thank you for having us. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys. Dinner time.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Good luck out there, man. We'll be watching ESPN2, baby. How about
you guys?
that?
Thanks.
The douche.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
See you guys.
See you, man. See you, Chad. See you, Garrett.
The Deuce going to be covering the Bassmasters. That's pretty interesting stuff. Look at that GDP.
That's huge. That's really big.
I know. I've got a feeling that if the viewership is really strong, they might even bump it up to ESPN
That would be
regular.
That would be special.
Yeah, depending on how many people watch. So everybody tune in. It's coming up. I think it's like June 10th.
Yep, 10th to 13th.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Did you get a chance
So
to go down
super
to
awesome.
Lake Eufaula?
I went down there in January. I basically practiced for the spawn. So kind of everything I looked at was it still could play though. I mean, there's always going to be shallow fish in every lake, no matter what happens. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if I had to pick one, I want to catch them shallow. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Eufaula is famous. It's a famous lake. It's famous for ledge fishing.
Yep.
And I know a lot of guys are going to be doing that stuff. I can't wait to see what happens. With grass holds them shallow. Who knows what's going on?
There's some variables. I mean, the week before our event, like this week starts the Tackle Warehouse tournament there for FLW. And so as soon as they're done, we're starting to practice. So it's, everything's going to be really crammed this year for every organization because of what's going on.
Right. Yeah, sure enough.
Yep.
But do you have any concerns about that? Do you have any concerns for traveling during this time, or are you taking any precautions? Are you camping? Are you going to be staying in hotels? Or
yeah, so I mean, me, Chad, and Carr got a house together. We're all in together. It's just a lot of precautions as far as how the whole entire thing is going to be ran. As far as going to a gas station, I mean, just do normal stuff. If you want to wear gloves or hand sanitizer, just normal stuff. Just be careful.
I got you. Well, the numbers seem to be trending down, and I wish you guys all safe travels and be pulling for you down there.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know the first year I fished, once again right after Washington, this was we drew out an invitational. I actually drew out with KVD in invitational on Lake Eufaula, and fished the ledge bite down there, and it was an amazing experience for me. I'd never seen anything like that coming from South Jersey, where you're from. I was fishing in Maurice River and all these places around here. Little experience up north, and here I found myself fishing a big reservoir with big giant crankbaits, and it was quite an experience that, where I saw schooling fish out on the deep bars. Like it was just amazing. 4-pounder after 4-pounder after 4-pounder, except in my live well. And it was quite a learning experience.
Yeah, I bet it was.
But it's also one of the cool things. And now when we get Ken on, I want to ask him about the history of Lake Eufaula, because it was, it was one of the premier fisheries
And he appears.
for a long, long time. And it had, and I see we have the great Ken Duke on with us. I'm just referring to you. I was hoping you'd come on so I could roll this by you, because this is the keeper of the scrolls for the Bass University, great Ken Duke. And I'll say hello to you, Ken, because we want to introduce you to everybody who's watching tonight. Thanks for coming on, man. How you doing?
Absolutely my pleasure, Pete. Enjoyed the program you guys had with Garrett and Chad. That was a lot of fun. finally you got somebody from south of the Mason-Dixon line, though, so we can talk about real bass fishing.
Oh.
I know, man. I mean, especially Chad. He was coming down on the largemouth on more than one occasion.
Unbelievable. I hated seeing that. It made me cry, but I'm better now. I got my Bass U cap on thanks to you guys. Brian the Carpenter said I was causing blindness and too much glare. So it's good to have that. And mine matches Riz's cap. So I'm happy.
It was a
about that.
technical issue, Ken. That's all.
And we actually have a little trivia-esque question for you tonight.
Oh, that's probably not a good thing, Riz, but let's hear it.
It's for everybody, but this may be like kind of a stump the Swami kind of deal. And this is going to be Professional Fish Head's top 5 baits and techniques for catching spawning smallmouth. And this information is based on Bass U TV seminars, top professional tournament finishes. So this is a completely unbiased opinion. So Ken, I'll start with you. What do you think the top 5 choices for spawning smallmouth baits would be?
Well, I got to assume a tube is going to be high up there. Do I have to name a specific tube?
You can just go with the kind of bait. Yeah.
I'm going to go a tube. I'm going to go a drop shot. I'm going to go, wow, do people catch smallmouth on anything else? Let's see. I got to believe that a jig and pig, jig and trailer is going to be in the top 5. I got to believe you can create some sort of reaction strike with a crankbait.
All right.
You can't name every category, Ken. That's not fair.
So where have I gone astray here, guys? I'm cutting a broad swath here, Pete, so I might be right with something. But obviously tube, drop shot, jig and pig of some kind. What else? How narrow do you need this to be?
Well, I've got for you right now, tube, drop shot, jig, crankbait. So you got one more.
Okay, the last one.
Does it begin with a T?
With T. Yikes! I mean, what are you hitting me with here? I'm not even sure offhand what might begin with T. For spawning smallmouth, huh? Fish that are actually locked on a bed. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, yikes!
The guys have won with.
The guys have won with.
I don't know where the T thing came from. Doesn't.
Are they talking about a Texas rig lizard or something
That's
like that?
awesome. Texas
okay.
rig.
I'll go with that.
Tizzard.
Go with that. Okay, Texas rig. Pete, what say you? You got 5 to fire at me, and they can do the 10.
Well, where does this leave me?
I know. I mean, there's going to be no lore categories left for
You can repeat. If you think something that Ken said is correct, then you can put it in your list as well.
How many did he get right?
I'll
Ken
reveal
got-
that information at the end.
Yeah, I'm tube is too old school. I'm the only one that throws that, so I'm taking that one off from Ken's list. Keeping a drop shot, jig. I'm getting rid of the crankbait and I'm adding the Senko. Keeping the Texas rig and I'm adding the jerkbait.
Okay.
Dial it in, Greg.
I'm going to go with a spider grub.
Okay.
They work really good for that. Definitely going to go with a Senko without a doubt. I'm going to go with a jig also, drop shot, and a Texas rig.
Okay. All right. So here it is, and you guys were kind of all over it, but there was one that stands out that nobody hit. I don't think anybody hit it, and I'm kind of surprised, especially from you, Greg. Small swim baits on a jig head, a Kitech, a 3.3 swim bait.
I think I should have just left spider grub with a ball head jig.
What's that?
I should have just left a spider grub with a ball head jig.
Okay, so
They
that
could
was
be wide open.
Jerk baits was on there. Pete hit that. Small crawl type baits, creature baits on Texas rigs is on there. Stick baits is on there as a drop shotting technique, and then also shad shaped worms on the drop shot technique as well.
So not a tube.
The tube is not on there.
Oh,
The tube is not on there.
Pete, you
So
win
we're
because you
down.
got that right.
Yeah, the tube has been. I think I'm the only one still throwing it, but man, do I love to fish that tube, man. But I, like I said, on spawning fish, I don't always throw it because I lose a fair amount of fish on it.
Now, guys, my favorite way to catch smallmouth, and it doesn't apply to the spawn, is the float and fly. Have you guys ever fished the float and fly for smallmouth?
I did it for largemouth.
Yeah, sporadically.
In Florida?
It's a blast. You get out there in the cold water with a long spinning rod and a bobber with a 9 to 13 foot leader and a little tiny jig, which of course in East Tennessee they call a fly. That's a blast. I caught all my biggest smallmouth basically using that technique. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's very unique, very foreign to people up here, but it can catch them up here as well.
It is. And I'm a Florida guy, born and raised, like 5th generation Floridian, and you guys are talking about smallmouth. Now, obviously I've caught a lot more largemouth than smallmouth, but you guys may not know that Florida has a history with the smallmouth bass that will shock you.
Any Florida strain?
Well, in the 1930s and 40s, the world record smallmouth was from Florida. And I'm not making that up.
What possible body of water could host a smallmouth in Florida?
It weighed 14 pounds, Pete.
Wow.
Here's the story. Here's the story. You guys are going to get a kick out of it. Back then, biologists understood there was a difference between largemouth and smallmouth, but they were focused on things like how many dorsal rays does the fish have? How many scales are there between this point on the fish's body and that point on the fish's body? And what they didn't realize was that in some parts of the country, that could vary a little bit. There was this guy from Pennsylvania. His name was Walter Hardin. And he used to come down to Florida every winter, and he loved to bass fish. And he would catch these giant largemouth bass. But he was convinced that they were smallmouth bass because maybe their head was a little bit small for their body. And he would count the rays. And sometimes he would even get a biologist to check for him. And these biologists would certify these fish as smallmouth bass. And Field and Stream, which kept freshwater records there, gave Hardin the world record at 14 plus pounds for more than a decade.
Wow, that's a big smallmouth.
Of course, it's even a big largemouth, Greg.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, what it was. But not a lot of people know that Florida held the smallmouth record for a long time.
What is the smallmouth record? Anybody know?
It's 11:15 out of Dale Hollow Lake in 1955.
So they disqualified that smallmouth, obviously.
What?
The 14 pounder.
Yeah, well, actually, If you want to talk about disqualifications, man, we're in the right category with smallmouth. But yeah, Hardin's fish was ultimately disqualified. He was kind of embarrassed by the whole thing. He even designed a bait for heddon back in the day called the Hardin Special, which goes for quite a few bucks these days. A topwater bait, pretty cool prop bait, as I recall. But that fish was discarded. Eventually, in 1955, on July 9th, a guy named David Lee Hayes, I believe Mr. Hayes is still with us. He's about 95 years old now. He caught on July 9th, 1955, he caught a smallmouth that was certified at 11 pounds, 15 ounces out of Dale Hollow Lake. And that fish stood as the world record from 1955 until 1995. And then it was disqualified by IGFA and the state of Tennessee and so forth. And that was because some dockhand who worked at the place where the fish had been weighed in came forward and produced an affidavit from 1955 saying that he had helped to stuff that fish with 3 pounds of lead weights and motor parts.
Oh my God.
And the fish actually weighed 815, not 1115.
I do that sometimes.
Oh,
Well, I'm a fan of world records as much as I think anybody out there. I'm fascinated by world record bass. And I got to looking into that after that fish had been disqualified. And in 2005, I was working for Bass as senior editor of publications. I published a story in Bassmaster magazine about Hayes and his fish. At the time, he was in his 80s already. And through that article, we kind of shamed IGFA and other record keeping organizations into recertifying haze, because we established that the guy who claimed that he stuffed motor parts and lead weights into the fish was actually lying. He had a vendetta against that marina, and he was actually just doing the bidding of a rival marina across the lake.
Wow.
So the fish was reinstated in 2005. I'm proud to have had a part in that happening, but that's the weird story of the world record smallmouth.
Great story. Amazing as always. Just a wealth of knowledge. And I was talking when you came on about Eufaula. It's the first tournament I ever fished. It was back in I think '96, and I think it was Wingate's Lodge. Is that right?
Yeah. Lunker Lodge.
Yeah.
Jack Wingate owned it. Lunker Lodge. Just a legendary place. Mr. Wingate passed away. I don't know, maybe 2012, 2011, somewhere in there. But he was one of the founders of what we would call modern bass fishing, modern tournament fishing. A lot of the rules for BASS tournaments were formulated right in the restaurant area of his facility.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you go there today, there's a little glass partition that separates two parts of the dining area, and etched in the glass there, it points out that that Ray and Jack Wingate and some of the other founding fathers of BASS met there to discuss the rules and get everything rolling.
Wow. Well, I visited that when I first went, and it was, they had all the old, fish mounts that were kind of falling apart on the walls, and they were all 10, 12, 14 pound, just giants. And the pictures, like back before we knew catch and release, just images of 10, like guys on the docks and laying out 10 pounder, 10 pounder, 10 pounder, 10 pounder. I just, just blown away by the kind of fish that had been caught out of there the 20 years before I ever made a cast at the place.
It's a phenomenal place. It's one of those bucket list places. There are just a handful of legendary fish camps and lodges and places like that. When you drive in to Lunker Lodge, there's a sign. It has two sides, of course, and on one side it says they'll tear them up tomorrow, and on the other side it says because they tore them up yesterday. So even if you bomb on your day, they try to leave you with some hope that when you come back, you're going to whack them.
Yep. Yeah, that was old school. And my buddy, me and Ike traveled there, and of course he actually. I don't want to step on your trivia question if that's it, but Mike won there. He won on Lake Eufaula doing his snapping his deep diving crankbaits out of the grass like only he can do. I've never been able to duplicate that technique exactly, but that is where he won. And it's an amazing fishery. I'm excited to see the Bassmasters go there. Excited that they're going to be on ESPN.
I am too. And Greg, while you're there, if you're looking for a great place to have dinner, go to the Pond House. The Pond House has the best pork chop you'll ever eat.
I haven't had pork chops in a long time. Sounds
They're
good.
with an appetite. They're thick like a crazy thick steak, and they're delicious.
They got pasta?
Yeah, pasta on the side.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. And if you like that sort of thing, it's a classic Southern restaurant. You gotta, one of the cool things about traveling the country like you get to do on the Elite Series is to kind of immerse yourself in the cultures and all these different places. And
Right.
Pond House is definitely a place to go.
All right.
Whenever I would cover a tournament in Eufaula, I would try to eat there basically every night. And I'd always get the pork chops. And I've dragged many an Elite Series pro to the Pond House, including Edwin Evers, Bernie Schultz, you name it.
All right.
Dragged them all to the Pond House through the years.
GDP, take your boys there at the Pond House and send us some pictures we can put up on our social.
Definitely.
In front of the Pond House sign.
And Pete, you mentioned a question involving Ike, and in fact, my first trivia question tonight, if I've got time for more than one, I do have another one, but my first trivia question tonight, if Brian and Riz have not already covered it, involves Ike.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, Baines, you started it. Let's roll. Let's have tonight's trivia question. The keeper of the scrolls, Ken Duke, Guys, what's the prize pack for the trivia winner, Riz?
The prize pack for the trivia winner is going to be a Bash U official hat, a Bash U official shirt. In addition to that, they're going to get 30 days for free, and we're also going to send them a couple of jerk baits.
Outstanding. What a prize pack. We talked about jerk baits tonight, too.
Yep.
It's a great prize pack, and it's a pretty tough question. And it ties into this week 14 years ago. On May 24th, 2006, Mike Iaconelli appeared on a network television talk show. The other guests on the program were John Favreau and Hugh McIntyre. If that helps anybody at all, I can't imagine that it would. What was the show?
I know it.
So you two should know. Brian should know it.
Well, don't say it.
To me, that's a tough show. It's not a show I've watched a lot. So maybe
And what
that's
was
why
he
it's
doing
tough
on the
for me.
show, Ken?
I guess he was being Mike Iaconelli. Isn't that enough?
He had
Isn't
a,
that-
he had a fish tank.
Okay, cool.
I saw this actually on YouTube. I do know whose show it was.
Ago, and I haven't watched it in a long time.
And we have a winner.
Oh
was
man,
quick.
That was quick. Our guys are good, man. Our guys are really good.
Before you give out the answer, I want to guess.
Okay.
I don't know the answer. He was on Letterman, right? No?
Denny Brower did Letterman.
Yeah.
So if it's the right video, he called him good, right, Brian?
No.
Not at all.
No, because
I saw it.
I believe he, when the show went live, the lights were
They
so
had to
bright in
fish
the
or something.
studio that shut them down.
Yeah, I watched the show.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, they weren't biting. Right?
Do you know the answer, Brian?
Or
Do you
was
know
he
who?
pitching? Did he have a tank or was he pitching?
No, he had a tank. If it's the one I saw, he had a tank.
Yeah,
a Berkeley
yeah.
tank.
Well, guess, guys. Do you know the answer before we give it
Oh,
away?
I know.
I think it's what's his name? Jimmy Kimmel? Yeah.
Jiminy Kimmel.
Live.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel Live. No kidding.
Right. Jimmy Kimmel. And our winner for that question was Aaron on the message board. That's a Bash U TV subscriber, and he just won himself a pretty sweet prize pack. So send in your customer number, and we'll get you hooked up.
Loaded up.
Way to go, Aaron. Great job on that. I thought that was a tougher question, but you guys are that good.
That was quick.
So, very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah. It's not often that Bass Pros get on network television programs, you know.
Mhm.
Occasionally you get on ESPN, things like that, which is obviously tremendous exposure. But to break through into a kind of a non-endemic area like a network talk show, that's a big, big deal. I know Denny Brower did the Letterman show. One of my problems is, you know, I love the sport so much, and it's so cool to see one of our people on there, but so often they kind of make fun of it, you know. They act like, oh, you know, you got to hold your mouth right to catch bass and win a tournament, you know, that sort of thing.
Sure.
So when they put Denny Brower out in the back alley pitching a jig into a cup, or they've got Mike fishing out of a fish tank, I kind of that kind of takes a lot of the air out of it for me. What I really want to see is a chance for a guy like Mike to sit next to a Letterman or a Jimmy Kimmel, because he can hang with those guys. You know, he can do the back and forth with those guys and do the repartee kind of thing. And you know, I'm still waiting for a real opportunity for one of our guys to have that chance.
Well, maybe after GDP wins down at Lake Eufaula, they'll invite
Greg
him
is
up.
ready. Greg is ready for prime time.
All right. I like it.
So Joseph Hawk on the message board on Facebook said that Mike was most likely on the Jerry Springer show.
Joey's probably right.
Yeah.
Might have been
Sounds about
before he
right.
got famous as a bass pro, though.
Yeah.
All right, so I got one for the panel here.
Shoot.
All right, this is for you guys. Besides Greg DePalma, who on the Bass U staff still has their Bassmaster Classic qualification hopes still alive? Is it A, Pete Glusick, B, Mike Iaconelli, C, The Riz, D, Professional Fish Head, or E, none of the above?
I know the answer.
Ken Duke.
I don't know the answer. Help us out, Pete.
Do you want me to give it, Brian?
Wouldn't it be Greg?
GDP's got to get.
Pitching the elite.
Besides Greg DePalma, who
Yeah, Greg
on the
DePalma,
Bass U
obviously.
staff still has their Bassmaster Classic qualification hopes still alive? Greg?
I'm going to say I want to say both of them. It's going to be the Riz or Justin.
Well,
Is that not a
Riz
right
hasn't
answer?
done anything to qualify, so I guess he's
But
not.
it's still in the future for both of them.
So professional fish head is still alive.
That's it. That's the answer right there.
That's
Did
the
he,
answer.
did he win something?
He did.
Yeah, he got his name
won.
on Bass U Live.
Yep.
That was sent in from our buddy, Professional Fish Head.
He's a hammer, man. He freaking
Yes,
does
he
good
is.
down
He
there.
can catch them.
Yes, he does.
Yep. His team tournament trail has qualified him to the next level.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
At Bass.
All right.
And he's still got his hopes alive. I am out. I didn't get into the opens this year, so I didn't get to compete. Got put on the waiting list, so my dreams are dashed. And GDP, you're alive.
Well, hopefully make it happen. Go to Texas.
We're gonna try and get into Oneida.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. They should just take winning you're in, no matter how many tournaments that you fish, and I'd be right there at Oneida for sure.
Yeah, everybody's in.
I got a question for the panel related to the Classic.
Talk.
Tonight you guys had 4 different guys who've been to the Bassmaster Classic on the show. Of course, Pete's been to 3, Chad Pipkins has been to 3, Greg is the most recent qualifier, and Garrett Paquette went in 2019. So right there, you got 4 guys who have qualified for the Classic through the years. How many total human beings, how many individuals have fished in the Bassmaster Classic over the last 50 years of its existence? And whoever's closest will say they got it.
250.
I'm going to say
250, says Brian the Carpenter.
350.
350. Who said that, Riz?
350.
350.
I'm gonna need about 350.
I'm gonna need about a 350.
Well, there's been a lot of requalifications, so that really cuts the number down.
Yeah, just randomly say something.
1,215.
Hell no.
No way.
Okay, Greg.
I'm gonna go 200.
Ooh,
200. Wow. Okay. The furthest off
is Pete.
is actually Pete, but he's not as far off as you might think.
Ooh.
The real answer is 662.
Okay.
There have been 662 qualifiers over the 50-year history of the Classic. You got some guys, obviously, like Rick Clunn, who have been to 32 of them, but over half the guys have only been to 1.
Yeah.
And actually, the average is like 3.5. So the average guy who's qualified at all has been to 3.5 Classics.
Pete, you're a half below average.
Damn it. Not over. It's not over.
It's not over. Pete Glusic's going to exceed that. He's going to drive that number higher. I just know it.
One more. Just one more.
A half.
Well, I'll be above average with one more. That's
right.
the goal. What a great stat. 662 people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for some reason, I thought it was lower.
662.
Greg, you really booted that one, dude.
I just kept it real.
I guess an average of 20 new people a year.
I thought we were talking like my
50 years.
lifetime.
Yeah, me too.
Ouch. I think that was an old joke, Greg.
It was. Sorry, guys.
That stings. We've been around for all the Classics on some level. Maybe just as tiny kids, but we've been around for all of them. Yeah, this year there were more rookies than ever. There were 28 rookies this year alone. That's more rookies than were in the first Classic, and everybody was a rookie in that Classic.
Oh,
all
wow.
24 guys were rookies in that one.
Wow.
So, but the average number of rookies is 14, 15, and so you got a lot of turnover. And actually, from year to year, about half the field, maybe a little bit more, is returning from the previous Classic.
Interesting. Well, it's an amazing stat, and the Classic is going back to Texas next year.
Woo!
Are you excited about that, Ken?
I'm always excited when the Classic goes someplace it hasn't been before, because it usually means you're going to have a really big crowd. You're going to have a lot of people there who might not otherwise ever go to one because it's coming to their backyard. I think Dallas has or Fort Worth, Dallas-Fort Worth has the potential to be a really great venue for it. It's an easy place to fly into, so I kind of like that. I might be able to get a direct flight, which is always nice. But I'm expecting huge crowds in Fort Worth, assuming we have a vaccine, assuming that a lot of things change between now and then to get us back to closer to what the old normal was like.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah,
life is coming soon, Ken. I can feel
I
it.
hope so, man. I mean,
Yeah. This has got to end. I've had it. I'm in the studio by myself, and I've had it.
Yeah.
I'm with you,
I've
brother.
had it. This is
I'm with you. I'm
enough's
tired of
enough.
this. I mean,
Enough's
I
enough.
wrote a column today on the FTR website, and mostly I'm complaining because I'm a big fat Southerner. So that means that all my favorite restaurants are buffets, and I'm afraid it might be years before another buffet opens its door.
Oh, that's funny. And Brian, I got to say, there is a sense of loneliness about you as
Oh,
you
dude.
broadcast by
Yes.
yourself.
It's the wood paneling.
Yeah, I'm sitting here drinking by myself, looking at my. It's just this.
Ken, we got a question for you from the message board. David Prince wants to know, when was the last year that Bass did megabucks?
Wow, you're sending me to my. You're sending me to a spreadsheet, Riz, but I will have that for you momentarily.
We can guess at it. You want to guess?
I could guess at it, but I would be woefully wrong.
I fished.
Let me guess. Let me guess. Just, honestly, this is a guess, but let me throw out there 1997, and we'll see what we got.
Let me guess. I fished that one on Richland Chambers Reservoir. I think it was 97. I think
go
there
with
was one
96.
after that in 98 on Old Hickory.
Looking it up right now, guys. I've got a spreadsheet. My data, folks, is better than Bass's data. Please trust me on that. So we will have our answer momentarily. I just got to track it down here. The last Mega Bass tournament was 2001 on Douglas Lake in Tennessee. Rick Clunn won it.
Ricky,
Oh, my.
Ricky,
We were way off.
I was off.
wins everything.
Ricky Bobby.
Love it.
All right, and now I got a question for you. This one comes from Risby Fishing, and that is, Ken, and I kind of want to just get your thoughts on this. So this year, the Bassmasters, they're going to be fishing like later into the year, like October and even into November, right, Greg?
I didn't hear you. I sneezed.
The elite schedule is going into like October and November this year,
Possibly December.
possibly December. Ken, when was the last time that happened?
I know
Well, it depends on what level you're asking, Riz. I mean, obviously,
At the tour level.
the elites have never fished that late into the year. But and the old tour back before 2006, when the elites started, never came close to that. That tournament, that series was almost all it was practically a spawning tour. So it's been a while. But you do see some tournaments ending as late as October, November back then, and let's see how long they've gone as late as mid-November as recently as 2004. But those were opens; those were Southern Opens, so it's not quite the same. At the tour level, you really don't have anything going later than October, or maybe even October. There have been some elites.
Okay.
But
What
that's
was that
about
back
it. And that was early in the Elite Series. In the first 3 years of the Elite Series, when they were fishing 11 events, they would go later.
Okay. Cool.
11 tournament.
I would
Sorry,
love
guys.
it if these competing organizations would separate. You got two competing organizations fishing right on top of each other, scheduling events right on top of each other, and then half of the year there's nothing happening.
Well, and you got the Red Crest going on within basically a month of the Bassmaster Classic next year.
Yeah,
That's going to be very interesting because the Red Crest is going to have an expo just like the Classic has an expo.
Yeah.
What are manufacturers going to do with that? But Brian, your comment about them fishing on top of each other versus not breaking up the year, I think it boils down to this. Tournaments have been front loaded in the beginning of the year, partly because the fishing's better, tends to be better. But mostly because that's what your audience really wants. A lot of your bass fishing audience switches over to deer hunting come about August.
right.
They start getting their food plots ready. They start cleaning their guns.
Yep.
They start getting their bows ready, and you lose a lot of your audience after August. So nobody wants the second half of the year for their fishing because of the programming. But MLF is basically doing that. And that's because of their production schedule. Their production schedule, they don't turn those shows around in a week or 10 days or in a week basically, or 2 weeks like Bass does. They'll fish a tournament in March, but that program won't come on until September. And of course they tell us that the ratings are fabulous and all is good with that. And I wish them all the luck. If those numbers are strong for them, that's great. But in the past, people haven't wanted that second half of the year.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I know that that's true. You know, for me personally, that's not my fishing schedule. I'm too busy in the spring, and I actually get it in the fall, and I don't hunt. So nothing against it. I just don't do it. That's the falls when I get it in. So I personally love the Bassmaster schedule this year. I can't wait to see the guys competing in September, October, November. You know, I cannot freaking wait to see those events that late in the year. I'll be watching them more than the same event at the same place and the same time of year, like the schedule's been for however. That doesn't interest me. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I like it too. I like the fact that we're going to have fishing through much of the year. I hate the fact that we didn't have it during all this shut-in time.
Yeah.
But you know, it impacts it in an interesting way. You see guys who did really well in AOY standings and won a lot of tournaments back when everything was really front loaded and the tournaments were basically February through April. And I mean, sometimes the schedule was just that tight.
Yep.
Everything was in a 3-month period. And if you couldn't catch them pre-spawn and on the beds, you were doomed. Not only couldn't you win tournaments, you weren't going to qualify for the Classic and so forth. When the tournament expanded, a different group of guys became players. And some of the guys who were really successful fell by the wayside.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with this kind of season where everything is backloaded. But it's gonna.
I love the fall. I love the fall tournaments. I qualified for the classics when we had fall tournaments with relative ease, and when they took those fall tournaments away, I struggled. And you know, I fall in that exact category. And I love fishing in the fall, so I'm looking forward to it too. BTC.
Yeah,
we're gonna have
I'm looking forward to it.
Some
Greg,
cool
how
fall.
about you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward no matter when we go.
Yeah,
Spring, summer, fall. I just want to go.
Heard that, buddy.
Well, speaking of successful tournaments, if you want to hang in there with us for a minute, Ken, we have a little celebration because one of our own just crushed them down the flats and dominated on the Chesapeake this past weekend. Riz smashed 22 pounds with our boy Ike, and they crushed a field on the upper Chesapeake Bay. Congratulations, Riz.
There you go, Riz.
Turns out I had a pretty good partner for that deal. But it was a great day. It really was. And I mean, the circumstances considered, we only got like a half a day to practice, and it was actually, that practice day was last Thursday before the show. That's why I was running in last minute, you know. So our kind of goal in the practice day was like, all right, let's fish stuff that neither one of us has fished all year. Let's go out and try and find something new. And I think in practice we caught like 6 fish. Like, it was not very good at all. And you know, I basically told Mike, I was like, hey man, I know where these fish live. I know where they have been for quite a while. Let's just go over there and catch the fish that are available. And that's what happened. We kind of focused on 2 different patterns. We had a move and bite thing going in the morning, and that slowly tapered off as the water got high. And I actually switched over to, I'm not going to say it specifically because I'm going to have to fish against some people watching on this deal this weekend again, but something I learned from you, Pete, with my own little tweak to it to make it more comfortable for me to fish it on a bait caster. And once I started catching them on that, fishing the bottom, and Mike picked up the same rod, it was pretty much lights out from there. It was
Black Senko dead sticked for 20 seconds at a time.
we caught a lot of fish, and we got some of the right ones too. I got to experience Mike's happy feet firsthand. When he's fighting a big fish and he's on the front deck of the boat and his feet are going like this at about 1,000 miles an hour from one side to the other. So it was good. And honestly, coming in, we didn't think we had enough. Down there right now, it's like 23, 25 pounds or bust. And apparently that east wind made it a little bit tricky on a lot of people. And it was a blessing because I don't know if anybody has watched from the last few shows, but I'm dealing with a new motor situation on my boat, and to win that tournament and get that big envelope of cash was truly a blessing for my financial situation with my boat repair. So
that pays for a few prop shafts. That's good.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, gotta love it.
Back to zero.
Now, GDP, you're a stud down there on the bay too. What was your take on the weekend?
We did pretty good. We had 1989, just under 20. We caught probably 30 fish. Just never got the big bite. Never even had a shot at it. We just had all the same size fish. I think we fished the right area. 22 pounds something came out of our area too, right next to us. So it was just a matter of the right cast this time of year. That's the biggest thing, getting that lunker bite.
Well, I dispute that. I suspect it wasn't that you were using happy feet during your tournament.
It was not. Maybe tomorrow I will.
You didn't dead stick it long enough, Greg.
I did it for 19 seconds. That's why I got 19 pounds.
See. Okay.
Oh, it was great. It was great to have you guys both crush them down there. We had 100 boats turn out to a tournament up here, Ken, which is, a really big draw for us.
Yeah, shout out to those guys, by the way, Chester County Bassmasters.
Yep.
They did a bang up job of that tournament, and the circumstances and the practicing social distancing and managing.
It was good.
Situation. Stanhorn, Steve, the whole crew, Stefan Sarachman, he's probably watching right now. The whole crew that does that, man, they're top notch. They're right there with Five Alive and those guys, and just great run tournaments. So hats off to those guys.
Yeah, they have been a very successful buddy tournament trail for a lot of years. And I guess the coronavirus, everybody's jonesing to get out fishing. Everybody signed up. As a matter of fact, they had to cut it at 100 boats because that's what they limited it to be able to, try to social distance and do what they did. So that was pretty awesome. And it was awesome that Bass University takes another W. So congrats on that again, Riz. Well done. And I know GDP went down there all the time, and
I won a few.
And I'm hoping that sometime in 2020 I'll actually get to fish the Chesapeake.
Hopefully.
Yeah. What's the timeline on your boat, Pete?
What's that?
What's the timeline from Basscat on your boat?
I don't have a timeline yet, but for those who are listening, I've ordered a new Basscat, and I'm gonna run a Yamaha on the back of it, and
Not an Evinrude?
I've got Solixes all around and Ultrexes, and quit trying to stir up controversy, BTC.
Hey, speaking of which, Pete, I want to send a thank you out to the people running BFL. There was on June 20th, the Ike Foundation charity event is on the Upper Chesapeake Bay. There was a possible conflict. I know the BFL 2-day BFL was supposed to be on Champlain that same weekend, and there was talk that they might switch it to the Chesapeake and overlap the Ike Foundation. I think they looked at it and decided not to do that, and I want to thank them for that. I think that was the right move, and I appreciate them not overlaying the kids event. So that's all I got to say.
Well done, BFL.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to that tournament. And it should be a big one. June is a great month down there on the Chesapeake, or certainly a great time to go bass fishing down there. BTC, what else we got on the agenda?
Well, Richard's going to pick a like and share winner.
We have a like and share winner coming.
Pardon, senor?
Put it in the randomizer. Just give me 1 minute here.
Yeah.
What is the randomizer? Do you have like a pair of dice next to your computer that you roll out, or?
Don't pull back the Oz curtain.
I just, I look, I divide by pi, I put water under the fridge, and we get a winner.
All right. I like it.
That's about it, man. We're going to come back again next Thursday with another show. We've yet to pick oh, no, we do know. We're going to come back next week with John Cruz.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I've got a really fun topic in mind for that one. So soft plastic rigging and a lot of it. A lot of different rigging techniques that John uses and can be used. So we're going to dig into that next Thursday.
Excellent. By the way, you have a lot of excessive headroom on this camera shot, BTC. And you do have, like, what is that, a pheasant in there, or quail? What is that thing on the wall?
I don't know. Ruffled grouse. I'm from Jersey. I don't hunt. Gotta ask Becky.
And our Facebook like and share winner is a Mr. Timothy Gallagher. So Timothy Gallagher, if you're still with us here, I've already sent you a friend request via social media to get your information. So as soon as we ascertain that information from you, sir, you'll have a prize headed your way on Tuesday.
Thanks for
our mail outs happen.
Thank you for joining us, Timothy. And great news. I mean, I hear fishing license sales are up. I don't know what you hear, Ken, but I heard some crazy stat. Like last month, Tennessee was up 48% or something ridiculous like that. Have you heard stuff like that, Ken?
I have, Pete. And, the folks, some of the things that are selling really well at all shops are kind of your lower priced combos. So that tells us with license sales being up, low-end combos sales being up, we got a lot of folks out there who are not traditional anglers, not habitual anglers. And that's great news. The trick is going to be, can we keep them? One thing a lot of people don't realize is that of all the people who will buy a license this year, or an ordinary year, let's say, 2020 is so bizarre, but in an ordinary year, of all the people who will buy a fishing license, only about 55, maybe 60% of them will buy a license again next year. So we basically have to recreate almost half of the anglers that we have in this country each year.
So we should engage in promoting the coronavirus moving forward to increase fishing license sales.
I think that's exactly what I'm saying, Pete.
No.
Yeah.
Not a good.
No, but I think the trick is, and this has always been a challenge in our industry, the trick is to keep these people fishing. Right now, they don't have a lot of options. It's not like they can go to the movies or to a big sporting event or something like that. They can't go out and hang out with their friends very easily. So the trick is, we got to hope that they had success when they went fishing. We got to hope that they're looking at content that's going to help them have success, whether it's Bass U or some of the other stuff on the internet. And we got to find a way to show them that the great outdoors is better than hanging out inside and watching TV or staring at the computer when they could be fishing or learning about fishing.
Exactly. Right now, bass fishing is competing heavily with Fortnite and Apex in my house. So we have to, we definitely have to promote it, and we will, and we love doing it. And I love you being part of our show, Ken. It's awesome to have you.
It's a blast. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a lot of fun.
And we've got GDP. You're taking off. Are you leaving right away for the next lead, or what's your deal?
June 5th, I'm leaving.
Okay.
So that Friday, I'm leaving, heading down to Eufaula.
And getting some pork chops and
Yes.
pasta.
Oh yeah.
The pond house, Greg. The pond house.
I'm on it. As long as it's open, I'm there.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, if it's open.
Awesome. Well, send pics and thanks everybody. Thanks Garrett, Paul, Cat. Who else?
Is Kelly going with you?
Chad Pippins, maybe she might be going.
I'll definitely send pics then. Appreciate you, bud.
Of course, we had Chad Pipkins on tonight. Thank you guys. Thanks for being with us. Good luck to all three of you guys.
Thank you.
When you're down there at the Bassmaster tournament, we'll be watching either on Bassmasters or ESPN. So good luck.
Thank you.
Watch your money, Riz. You gotta keep it close. Don't let it all go after your big win this weekend.
It's already gone. It's in a lower unit.
Right off the bottom line of the price, man. Like I said, it was a blessing.
Back to zero, Pete.
Back to zero.
Back up to zero.
Yep. I'm with you.
That's
I've been
fishing.
there, done that. And congratulations, Ike. Good luck making the classic professional fish head.
Yeah.
Thanks for being part of the program as always. Ken, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Everybody, we're going to be back next Thursday night at 7 p.m. More Bass University Live. A lot of great stuff. John Cruz coming and a lot of great giveaways there too. So check us out at bassu.tv if you haven't signed up yet. And we will see everybody next week. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.
Take care.
Gerald Swindle, Bass UTV. I'm telling you right now, if you ain't watching it, you're like trying to put 3 pair of socks on 1 foot, man. You got to get part of it. You got to get on here and learn. If you got any doubt about flipping, pitching, we got it on Bass UTV. We got Bobby Lane. We got everybody you can imagine doing what they're the best at. You want to learn how to flip? Check out Hackney, huh? Don't get no slower than that. We got it all. BUTV offers A to Z bass fishing from beginner to the highest level. We have it on BUTV. Check it out online. Enjoy the laughs, but really enjoy the outdoors and fish. That's all we're asking. We want you to fish and we want you to watch BUTV.